aí, beleza? Fazer uma play rapidinho, mais ou menos 1 hora por aí. Acabei de começar o jogo, eu só entrei na casa e a casa tá toda bagunçada e a família pelo jeito saiu da casa. E vamos ver, vamos descobrir o que acontece, vamos jogando junto aí. Bom, acabei de entrar na casa, então tô descobrindo. A casa é linda pra caramba. Muito, muito linda. O lugar é bonito. Eu descobri o que aconteceu com essa família. Essa menina vivia na casa, ela tá voltando aqui. Não sei porquê.
Mom always told me to stay out of the basement, so I wasn't too surprised when the key didn't fit.
A chave não entrou. A chave que ela tem não serve. Cadeirinha da avó.
After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms. Then Edie retaliated and drilled peepholes. I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle
Nossa, que
Walter's room.
massa esse quarto. Pintura louca.
I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up. Lewis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him.
Há 20 mil léguas
Turns out,
submarinas.
my mom was really good at keeping secrets.
Olha.
Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of. From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me. Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan. But I had no idea what was behind that door.
Caralho, tem quarto escondido.
Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead. I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole. Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting.
Nossa, ela nunca teve acesso ao quarto da Molly. Se isso é irmã, se fosse alguma irmã dela. Pelo jeito a menina vivia trancada. Esquisito. Vamos ver o diário dela.
December 13th,
Em dezembro de
1947.
1947,
Dear
querido
Diary,
diário.
I'll be gone
Logo não
soon,
estarei
but I
mais
wanted
aqui.
to tell somebody
Nunca mais
about what's
poderei
gonna
contar para alguém
happen.
o que vai acontecer.
It started when Mom
Tudo
sent me
começou
to
quando minha
bed
mãe me mandou
without
para a
dinner.
cama sem jantar.
I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for
Acordei com
something to
muita
eat.
fome, então procurei alguma coisa para comer. Legal, tô no corpo da menininha então. Garby, o nome do
The gerbil food was
ratinho.
dry, but I didn't mind it.
Já mandou pra dentro a cenoura do ratinho. Não vai comer o peixe, né, bicho?
I thought about eating Christopher, but I held back.
Legal. Pô, nada a ver, né? Homem, estrela do mar. Elas regeneram as partes, se eu não me engano. Mas né, ela tem que estar no mar pra isso. Que bonito, cara, esse jogo. Lindaço. Mínima baixinha mesmo, ó. Ia estar na altura do queixo dela.
I kept eating and eating.
Não é uma pasta de dente. Caralho. Mandou o tubo pra dentro.
I ate a lot of things that night.
Eu acho que isso aí não pode comer não, hein. Tem um ratinho.
Then I heard chirping outside my window. It was a barn swallow going back to her nest.
Uma andorinha voltando pro ninho.
I reached out for her. And suddenly, I was a cat. I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared. I jumped and I almost got her.
Opa.
I could tell she was getting really tired.
Ah, cadê tu ali?
Now I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird.
Por que essa mina tá viajando pensando que é um gato? Ela tá fazendo isso e vai se matar, né?
I gobbled her up. and suddenly I was an owl. First, all I heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass. Rabbits. I imagined his face looking up and seeing mine through my talons. I swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit. Then I flew off to find something bigger.
Porra, mas não voou. Comeu mais do que isso.
A mama rabbit. She was almost too big to carry. I started choking, but I couldn't stop eating. And suddenly, I was a shark.
Só tomou porrada.
I rolled off the cliff and into the ocean. Now, I was hungrier than ever. I wanted fat, juicy seals.
Sobe. Peguei.
I tore off her flipper, and it tasted really good.
Menina esquisita, né?
Grabbed on tight. But I was so hungry, I jumped out of the water. When I opened my eyes, everything had changed.
Onde que da hora, ó. Ó, não. Um pulo isso aí.
Now I was a monster, and I smelled people everywhere.
Nossa, ela vai se
I
alimentar
was
de uma
big,
pessoa agora.
but I
Assim.
moved real quiet.
Já foi.
I wanted to stop, but also I didn't. As passenger, I was still hungry. And across the water, I smelled something new. Something I had to have, so I swam towards it.
Ela ainda é um monstro.
I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe.
A vida privada. Isso. Acho que é o quarto
I
dela
got
mesmo,
closer
não?
and closer.
Sobe pra ver o ratinho. Vem rolando pra chegar na cama dela. Bem provavelmente é isso.
All of my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to feed, and we both know I will be delicious.
Você é louco, que mina maluca, velho. Olha o diário dessa menina, mó perturbador, cara. É a parte que ela era os bichinhos, beleza.
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
Uma imaginaçãozinha fértil pra caramba.
I can't describe it, but I felt like some part of Molly was still here. This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly. I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room.
Bisavó.
Edie knit me a new pair of gloves every year, just in time to replace the old ones. Louis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him. Her room was like a museum. For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune and misfortune. Odin Finch buries the latest victims of the family curse, his wife Ingeborg and their newborn son, Johan. On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family and his house, hoping to leave the curse behind. But 40-foot waves off the coast of Washington send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea. Odin's daughter Edie, with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore on their new home, Orcas Island. Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery. His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house. Whatever's wrong with this family, it goes back a long ways.
Mumificação, livro de memórias. Conta dos contos. Mas livro repetido, né? The Old Bridge. The Old Bridge. The Old Bridge. Eles gostam de comprar o mesmo livro.
Edie gave a big interview about a mole man living under the Finch house. My mom was furious. I hadn't thought of myself as Edith Jr. for a long, long time. One summer, they evacuated the island, but Edie refused to go. For a few weeks, she was a celebrity. When Edie told people Sven was killed by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. She could have, but she didn't. Even in her 90s, sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother.
Caixinha de comprimido. Perfume. Nossa.
The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife, Kay, left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace.
A cadeira igual a minha. Topíssima pra jogar. Cadeira gamer, a velha de bom gosto, pô.
There's a secret in this bathroom. It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
Nossa, que da hora, meu.
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down.
Newton.
I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin. And that he never talked about him. I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it. My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom. And he did. At Barbara's funeral, we swore we'd never be afraid again. And he wasn't. I think Calvin always wanted to fly.
Sam! Calvin! Dinner's ready!
Coming!
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it. I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that,
Calvin! I'm not gonna tell you again!
maybe if the wind hadn't picked up, then maybe he'd still be here. But I doubt it.
Nossa.
I think he'd already made up his mind.
Olha a altura que tá,
That's what I
brother.
want to remember about my brother.
Nossa. Olha que vai dar mortal, cara.
The day he made up his mind to fly. And he did.
Putz, cara, que foda.
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing.
Triste, né? Morreu com 11 anos, cara. Que da hora isso, olha. Centro de comando do moleque. Os livrinhos.
After the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room. Mom said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again.
Nossa.
The passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies. Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star.
A Bárbara já tinha feito um filme. Já ganhou prêmio e tudo. Meu amigo pé grande.
I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards. Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised
smashing.
Top.
He was. He couldn't get enough of
Essa música é tensa, né?
someone at the door was dying to speak to young Barbara. At the door, she heard whispering. It was coming from inside the house.
Oh dear.
The monsters
Olha
had
isso.
come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was a dream come true. Then she saw what kind of monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her life. I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night. And little Walter? Hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard, but that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music box is all they ever found of her. Her ear.
Nossa.
Now that's what I call a real eerie tale.
Foda, hein?
Edie told me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered, as absurd as that comic was. Maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending.
Pô, que da hora essa historinha, meu. Oh, cara, meu. Nossa, o quarto dela é bem da hora, meu.
I guess now I know why Mom didn't like me playing with the music box. Mom must have locked the third floor stairs on the night we left.
Muito legal as passagens aqui na casa. Passagens secretas. A casa já é foda sozinha.
It's funny. All those times I played with the music box and never found the basement key.
Então vamos lá na fechadura.
Mom said the basement was off limits, unless I wanted another tetanus shot. I saw Edie sneak down to the basement once, carrying packages. I thought maybe she was hiding presents. It turned out she was hiding a lot more than that. I remember asking Mom once about where Walter had gone. She said after Barbara died, he got as far away as he could.
Ele fez bunker, né?
If there's a pattern in all these stories,
Monte de enlatado. Banheiro.
I think it's that none of us has gotten very far.
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years. On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive a week. But after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today. I always expected to be dead tomorrow. But if you wait long enough, you'll be used to anything. Even a monster on the other side of the door starts to feel normal. Almost friendly. And then one day, everything just stopped. Whatever that thing was, it was gone. Maybe it got tired of waiting. Or maybe I just got tired of being afraid. It's been a week now, the longest in 30 years. I'm done waiting. I have to leave while I still can.
Esse povo é leitor mesmo, hein? Poxa, eles leem pra caramba. Tudo que é espacinho tem livro jogado encaixado. Olha. Dark Defense. Back in the Curse. Echoes from a Fall. Chamber.
I know it's out there, somewhere. Whatever killed Barbara. And Molly. And Calvin.
Beleza, eu tenho que quebrar a parede. Deixa eu ver aqui, não tem nada.
Maybe this is all a mistake. But I need to stop living the same day, even if it kills me. Whatever's out there, I want you to know I'm ready for it. I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food. I don't mind if I only have a year left. Or a month. Or a single week. I'd be happy with one new day. I can already imagine the sun on my face.
Eu morri atropelado por um trem, bicho.
Walter died when I was 6. I can't believe my mom never told me he was down here. I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me. Maybe she was afraid I'd end up like Walter. But if she never told me about an uncle under the house,
Bizarro, né?
I can only imagine what else she was hiding.
Tem um tio vivendo embaixo dessa casa. Manteiga de amendoim.
I don't want to make the same mistakes she made.
Sopinha de ervilha. Pork chunks é o que? É pedacinho de bacon, de carne de porco. Tiras. São tiras de
Trying to
porco,
bury
tiras de
something
bacon.
that's still alive.
Bacon, essa não ia estar escrito bacon, né?
Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe two, I thought it was time I heard the stories for myself and found out what happened to everyone else. But now I'm worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse,
Sair do trilho, né?
we made it real.
Olha só. Miniatura da hora, né? O trilho desabou, né? Nem tem como passar trem mais.
I don't know if I should even be writing this.
Queria que o jogo inteiro se passasse naquela casa. Que casa
Maybe
da
it'd be
hora.
better if all this just died with me.
Paguei um pau, tô pagando um pau até agora pra casa.
But I thought you should know about your family. And the history you're a part of. Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now. I think the people in these stories believed them, for what that's worth. And when you look at the house, that history of imagination and stubbornness and madness, any of it seems possible.
O balanço que o menino se matou lá embaixo.
I think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it. What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house?
Pois é. Deixa eu ver na casa assim. Por acaso eu tenho que entrar lá no cima. Não, nem dá. Cercado. Pra fora mesmo.
It's embarrassing for me to admit this, but the pet cemetery made me more uncomfortable than the human one.
É, cemitério.
Three of the gerbils were mine, and 2 had been my fault.
Um gato, cachorro, coelho, peixe.
Sven built the house, but it was Edith who designed the cemetery.
Olha um homenzinho ali dentro. A atriz da família.
I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away. She could see it poking out of the water at low tide. Edie said she dreamed about the old house every night. Edie's side was always easier for me to understand. But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from. Her dad had been pretty strict, but it wasn't enough to save her brothers. She was just trying to do better. She lost 2 of her brothers, just like I did. I get why she tried so hard to protect us. We never found Milton's body, so my mom insisted we were putting up a monument, not a tombstone.
Caramba, a Molly nunca foi achada, ela sumiu mesmo. Ainda mais ela com aquelas histórias de
There's
monstros.
so many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself. But looking back on it now, if she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
Sabia que ela estava grávida, ela tem uma barriguinha muito de grávida. Se olha para baixo para a barriga dela. 22 semanas já, né? Olha lá a barriguinha.
I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common. They were both pretty intense. Sam spent his life shooting photos, but Mom said he got nervous being in front of the camera. I guess we're all afraid of something.
Já vou ver a história do Sam.
Instead of hiding from death, Sam seemed to go out of his way to meet it.
Foi pra guerra pelo jeito. Foi o Vietnã.
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime. Perfect.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it? I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the spirit. Smile, Dawn. Okay, got it.
I'm gonna take some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. That camera's older than you are. Definitely should not have drunk all that coffee.
You're right, Dad. It's...
Hey!
That's a keeper.
I'm just saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Dawn. You'll need to remember this stuff, if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Dawn, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years. Dawn, don't you think you could find something more interesting to photograph? Last time I was with my brother Calvin. Man, that was a great trip. Your grandpa Sven taught us how to fish, how to build a fire. We found an old logging trail. There were deer everywhere.
Dad!
Good eyes, Dawn. Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of you.
Dad, I...
Just breathe. Turn off your imagination. Focus on your target.
I'm over here, Dad.
Let me get behind you.
Do I have to do this?
Dawn, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to survive, you'll need to be strong. Great shot, Dawn!
Tadinho.
I'm proud of you, Dawn. Always remember that, okay?
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally normal, Dawn. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about...
Dad!
Nossa. Sério que o cara morreu assim, meu?
Of all these stories, that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me. After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot. inside his heart. I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her, "We don't need a stepmom," were the words that
I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined and as a sign held up his middle finger.
Filho da mãe.
The wind picked up and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent. The rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made. The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power. But all my father said to this was, "Make the music louder." I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea and foam. But I didn't, until we found you.
Nossa, o moleque morreu numa tempestade, mano.
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus. My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get. Religion was another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay. My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Lewis was born a year later. When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. and to see kids in the house again. The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that.
Cadeira gamer de novo, o pessoal curte.
And for a while, things were good. Almost normal. But it didn't last.
Método científico: observação, questionamento, pesquisa, hipótese, experimento, data, né? Conclusão.
The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
Que legal. Vamos ver a história do Milton.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
Droga, tesourei sem querer, né? Achei que não ia voltar no começo, voltou. Era um artista, né?
I was 4 when Milton disappeared. Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors.
Outro que sumiu. Ela passou aquelas espumas de vedação.
Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
Vamos subir.
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Louis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room, until Mom got him a job at the cannery.
Yeah. Darling.
Louis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on.
Ele tá voltando. Nossa, que massa, né? Olha. O psicodélico, o maluco era chapadaço. Já fica aí recado, né? Um bong nervoso.
Louis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Louis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Louis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to wander. I asked him to describe it. He said he started small, imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads. And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. He took it very seriously. I had hopes he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. but he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused.
O cara podia só ter mudado ele de função, mas não.
Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis-topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination, so he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor. And he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis, until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Lewis kept sailing on. In Lewisburg, he heard rumors of a handsome queen. The queen was on her own quest for radiant rainbows. He followed the sound of her electric sitar. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination. But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him. He began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt. I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on advising him. His queen waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head.
Cabeça. Nossa,
And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
Nossa, trash, trash.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
Falta o Ed, ou ela, ou a Ed, né? E a Dawn. O maluco se guilhotinou, cara, de tão maluco que ficou.
On the way
Trocou a
back from Lewis's
realidade.
funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind.
É pra menos, né?
What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner. But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night.
Agora eu vou saber o que aconteceu na última noite. Aqui a última historinha. Queria que esse jogo acabasse, agora não, cara. Muito bom.
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
The power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories.
Ela tá escutando a treta.
I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning, okay?
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years.
Bem
God, it
baixa mesmo, porque
smelled
aqui é tudo
awful.
oceano.
You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way.
Aí eu também já me perdi.
I got turned around. For a while, I wandered. I started seeing things. things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it. Let go.
Me dá essa porra.
I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you and tell you all these stories myself. But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Nossa, é o filho dela. Caramba, cara, que joguinho foda, hein? A história é curta, foi dedicado pra uma pessoa, Shirley Dallas. Nossa, que jogaço! Desses jogos do estilo Storyteller, achei que é o mais legal até agora. De longe é o mais legal. Um monte de historinha curta, cada uma de um jeito diferente. O gráfico é lindo demais, lindo, lindo demais. Eu achei que fosse um jogo de puzzle, como falaram, pelo que eu ouvia falar, assim, mas que eu nunca prestei atenção de verdade. Era só um jogo de história mesmo. É só uma historinha guiada, assim, só Pra dar uma passar o tempo, relaxar um pouco. Que joguinho bom, mano. Que joguinho bom. Do gênero, pra mim, é o que eu mais gostei. De longe, de longe. Triste, né? Uma história bem triste. A família inteira da mocinha morre. No final só sobra o filho dela lendo a história que ela contou. Ela foi pra casa que ela viveu para descobrir a história da família. Descobriu a história. Pelo jeito ela adoeceu também. E passou a história pro filho. Muito bom, muito bom. Eu creio que seja uma história de um final só. Eu acho que não deve ter outro final, porque eu não encontrei outras coisas para fazer. Mas ainda assim nem preciso. Acho que a proposta do jogo era essa mesmo. Essa historinha da Bárbara ficou muito legal. Que jogo bem feito, né? Que negócio feito com carinho. É outra coisa. Bem que falavam bem desse jogo. O pessoal do Nautilus já recomendou. Geralmente que eles recomendam sempre testa. Se tem alguns poucos que eu acabo não jogando, não gostando. Mas esse aqui de longe foi uma recomendação maravilhosa. Maravilhosa. O jogo durou um pouquinho mais de 1 hora. Eu comecei a live era umas 4 horas. Agora é 5h50. Deu nem 2 horas de jogo, mas acho que foi o jogo curto mais da hora que eu joguei, né? Não lembro de um jogo tão curto assim que eu joguei e que tenha tido essa profundidade. Poxa, eu fiquei querendo até mais desse jogo. Eu fiquei querendo que ele durasse bem mais. No final não é um jogo curto mesmo, mas foi muito bom. Tem nem o que reclamar. Jogar a história novamente está disponível. Selecione Edith para jogar de início. O que tem se jogar a história novamente? Bom, outra hora eu descubro o que acontece. Acho que deve ser só a mesma história, né? Ah, eu posso escolher a historinha que eu quero jogar. Muito legal. Muito bom. Bom, eu vou ficando por aqui. Essa live foi uma live mais curta, só pra... Eu ia começar a jogar esse jogo e continuar durante as lives, mas eu não imaginava que fosse tão curto. Mas valeu muito a pena. Eu continuo jogando outras coisas amanhã. Vou abrir outra live de noite aí e a gente joga outra coisinha. Ou continuo Yakuza Like a Dragon, ou Myst, ou... Eu tinha instalado outro que agora eu esqueci. O Psychonauts 1. Vamos ver o que dá no ânimo aí. Talvez eu jogue o Back 4 Blood. Só que daí seria mais cedo, jogando cooperativo com um amigo. É isso aí, gente. Obrigado para quem acompanhou. Quem gostou e puder dar o follow, eu agradeço. E até a próxima, gente. Até amanhã. Falou!